which is kind of the big dogs out of the way. Ground Zero looking great at the moment. They're also out of the way. Atletico also out of the way. So Legacy,
Mind Freak,
maybe.
Legacy, yep.
Mind Freak, Legacy, Order after this. I'd say if it's going to come anywhere, it's going to be against Legacy or Order.
Yeah, Legacy.
I don't think Mind Freak drops a map here to Melbourne Mavericks.
No, I don't think so either. Melbourne Mavericks are pulling out a composition that is known as Clockwork, but I don't know how good it is going to be on attack. They're looking to find an isolated pick here with that hook hold combo. A bit of big biotic grenade comes out from a Kraken. He landed it on 5, and once you get 5 people going purple, unable to be healed, you go down pretty quick.
Yeah, as is a representative of the kill feed at this point.
Yep, they're chasing him into spawn, boys.
That is a lot of ult charge for City Droppers as well. A Kraken's up to 83%, Dreamer 64. The highest for Melbourne Mavericks is 42 for Mercedes, and which is a very fast charging ultimate as well, I might add.
And there's just nothing to deal with a big biotic grenade on the side of Melbourne Mavericks. If the Kraken manages to get behind the shield or over the shield, then they're always going to eat that big nade. And they all stack up too, so really got to be wary of that one. But a Kraken at the moment kind of standing with his Reinhardt, not looking to use the high ground at all. Trying to stay protected from those random headshots, I think.
You can see the aggression is going to come out here. Oh, just in time as the wall goes up. The boost comes across. Dreamer will fall straight away, but even still, a pick for a pick. It's Mercedes down for Dreamer, and now the pins start to fall. They collapse on top of each other. It's a house of cards, really, for Melbourne Mavericks. As once one goes down, the rest also disappear quite quickly.
Yeah, you may have killed the Reinhardt, but you didn't kill the Brig, and that was the hero that kind of led the charge in after Dreamer went down. They couldn't deal with it, so now Drop Bears have some good ultimates. An EMP against this team comp is, it's really big. It really disables the Mei, gets rid of the shield, makes the Roadhog a meat sack.
Oh,
does get scouted, but
doesn't get scouted apparently. EMP is going to be thrown in. I think that's 6 players connected. Whatever the case, it doesn't really matter. Dreamer is going to cop one for his team again. Typical main tank life, but look, you'll be happy with that. If you die and everyone else on the other team dies as well, I think that's a fair enough trade. Dreamer's pretty happy in that department.
Dreamer hits a 5-man shadow but goes down straight away because he's playing Reinhardt. It's unfortunate.
It's starting to sound like Cinderella.
Yeah.
I'm not sitting on the observer desk, I'm on the casting desk.
I think that's basically it. But now, ultimates being used is just really the Graviton Surge offensively, and here it comes. Oh, he gets it in, but he does manage to get his Graviton Surge off. The Torbjorn ult comes out, all these ults to protect them while they're in the Graviton Surge, and it looks like the Melbourne Mavericks are on the charge here. They've got a few picks up, but how long can they stay on this point for?
I'd say that's a little bit over-eager for Sydney Drop Bears there, but
they'll feel in themselves.
Question you ask, can they actually stay on this point? Is it going to be capable right now, or does the recontest come from Sydney Drop Bears? It certainly looks as though there should be a recontest here. The speed boost comes in. Wall is too good. QBN, nicely done.
Yeah, and that will be the nano boost wasted from the Kraken too, so he'll want that one back. It looks like they have to hold here, but it may can be quite difficult in this street section. You can really cut the enemy team in half, especially if they're running these Reinhardt positions.
Nice spot for Mercedes to play from as well. Just able to pick forward, and that is a nice shot. There goes a Kraken. Winter also pops an arrow, but Blizzard is thrown in from Melbourne Mavericks.
And it becomes quite difficult now because the Sydney Droppers need to get onto the cart and force the brawl that way, really getting into the face of the Melbourne Mavericks. But they have all this distance with this Hanzo spamming arrows, they got the Baptiste spamming, the Roadhog spamming, so it can be quite hard to close the distance. Looks like Shoyo just poking up there for a bit of energy.
Yeah, Winter is going to escort him down, Mr. President. And we're back into position to fight. The shadow just didn't come up quickly enough, that wall. As you say, it's a massive Earth Shadow, and Dreamer's done it again. And
that's really the matchup between the Orisa and the Reinhardt. If that Reinhardt can get past that Orisa shield, it's a pretty easy Earth Shadow to land. Quite difficult to block that. But Nyang now with the EMP, he's going to be the key next fight. If he can hit a big one, cheeky translocator spot too. He'll translocate that and slide back down off the roof. But the translocator, that doesn't slide, it stays up there.
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder what Overwatch would be like if you could stand on roofs. Anyway, discussion for greater minds than mine, perhaps, as there is an EMP lurking in wait for Niang, and over the roof he goes with the translocator, as you mentioned. It's going to be the Dragon Strike to dispatch over Kraken. It's a 1-for-1 trade, however, as Crimson Wolf on the Roadhog is down as well. Dreamer doesn't seem to have a shield available.
Yeah, the beat drop there committed from Fluorash too, so that's a lot of commitment to lose that fight, and they're going to be struggling to recontest this, just because losing the Reinhardt means that they're vulnerable to so much damage from that spam.
That is the strangest shield I've ever seen. Anyway, it's going to be relocated straight onto point B. It's looking good for Melbourne Mavericks here, but the contest will surely come through. They do get there in time. Niang's got it, and the sleep dart straight onto Joker. Does put him down low with the focus coming in from Sydney Drop Bears onto him, but does manage to survive. A rally is out from Winter, and that'll allow Sydney Drop Bears to progress on forward, but he also falls, so has to try and contest the cart through the Molten Core. And Melbourne Mavericks don't quite get there. They were about 2 meters away.
That was so close. There was a few mistakes there from the Sydney Drop Bears players, actually. A Kraken headbutting a Dragon, and Winter just playing around in the Molten Core, so a little bit sloppy from the side of the Drop Bears, but it didn't cost them too much. They managed to hold off on the fight. And Yang now charging up his EMP, getting closer. We'll be looking for a heal from the Kraken, though. Kraken's left him.
If he gets it up, it's going to be thrown in this fight, I can tell you that much. 33%, or 33 seconds left for Melbourne Mavericks. It's do or die now.
Winter swapped over onto that May too, so giving up on the Brigitte.
Interesting choice. Wasn't having a fun time, I suppose. This goes down, and so does the Dragon Strike. It's the perfect start to the fight for Melbourne Mavericks. Sydney Drop Bears have just been caught off guard. Yang will elect to keep his EMP, I'm sure, even though he does manage to get a kill onto QVN.
Saw how fast that combination came out. The drum came down and then the Hanzo ult, and it did so much damage. It really just blew Dreamer out of the water. He couldn't deal with the damage there. Even the projected barrier from Shoyo comes out, but it's just not enough. Winter gets the pick on Morbid though. It's a good way to start a fight.
Yeah, minute 17. I mean, it's not a whole lot of time for Melbourne Mavericks here in Phase C, where we've seen upwards of 5-minute holds. An EMP does get thrown in to try and turn the fight around, but I'm not sure it's necessarily going to have the effect, as there's still quite a few Melbourne Mavericks players alive, and this is a very split fight. Dreamer needs to be aware of the Hanzo above and behind him. Mercedes is in a fantastic position here, just needs to connect some shots, and it's going to be a little easier said than done.
He's been really popping off with his Hanzo too. He's really pressured out Dreamer and really made things difficult with the side of the Sydney Drop Bears. A cute little interaction on that fight though. The shield from Joker was in the air as the EMP came out, so it didn't manage to land and save the team. It didn't break, so that's nice from Joker.
Dreamer's not having a fun time here at all, up to 96% though of the Earth Shatter. Maybe he'll get his revenge. The Dragon Strike did so much damage to him, so is the Molten Core. His shield is on 300 HP. There's no way he survives here, there's just nowhere to go for him. What can you even do at that point? Fluoro does finally get rid of the pesky mosquito that is Mercedes, but is it too little too late here? Melbourne Mavericks look to have been able to cap with time available. Sound barrier is cancelled and they get through with about 15 seconds left. Sydney Drop Bears are not going to be pleased with that.
No, they didn't have the answer. Poor Dreamer was stuck in the middle of nowhere. He really just working his shield, eking it down, but he kept stepping in the Molten Core. He had nowhere to hide, which was the problem, and then he had no way of getting on top of the enemy team and forcing a fight and initiating, so he just ends up going down. Really unfortunate to see, but I have to say that Mercedes did a lot of work on that attack, and his Hanzo looks pretty clean.
Does indeed.
They just didn't get any value out of these EMPs as well. It was so hard for them to get value out of those ultimates because they couldn't close the gap between themselves and the attacking team. Really, like, King's Row has long sight lines great for heroes like Hanzo, great for heroes like, I guess Torbjorn and May too was just sitting there spamming, and anytime Dreamer tried to get close to start a fight, he just was already dead.
Yeah, not really what I expected actually out of this King's Row after our first 2 maps, but wouldn't be the first time, would it? Not the first time today. So, look, 15 seconds, it's not a huge amount of time, right? But capping out King's Row in itself is a pretty decent achievement. So for Sydney Drop Bears, there's, I suppose, a little bit of pressure, a little bit of weight on their shoulders now going into this attacking side. Yeah,
there definitely is. I mean, now that there's a win condition for the Melbourne Mavericks, like, they've given themselves, no matter what happens on this this defense for them, they're going to have another shot at attacking. So it's struggling. It's struggling to see how Sydney Drop Bears can get a faster time because it is King's Row and it can be quite hard to attack. So they've got to be really fast here, really disciplined. All the pressure's on them.
Yeah. Wouldn't want to be the first team to drop a map to Melbourne Mavericks.
No, not especially because I said they just weren't going to drop a map.
Yeah.
But I did say Melbourne Mavericks would get a map. So. Either way. It's interesting they're playing the Ashe competition here. They are playing the Mei as well. Mei, Torb, Ashe. So, it's a nice shot onto a Winter.
Yeah, I think for Melbourne Mavericks, they really do seem to like to play around Mercedes' capabilities as an DPS. Yang does get hooked on up there, but it's actually his Joker will fall. The rest comes across. What a great shot. Yang does get Mercedes, and there's the big power player perhaps out of the picture. Going to give a bit more room for Yang to play around with, and play around with it he does indeed. Morbid will drop to the headshot from Widowmaker.
He's found himself a nice angle here in Yang to get some shots in. They are forced to come to the point to contest, and he'll just be able to pick them off as they come in. And
I mean, do you get that sense as well? Like for Melbourne Mavericks, it just seems like they try to put Mercedes on carry here a lot of the time. You know, we see Widowmaker, we see Hanzo, we see Ashe.
yeah, he definitely does play those carry heroes, the more higher impact heroes. And I think that, yeah, they definitely do prioritize trying to get him into a position to, you know, aim on the enemy team and win the game. But sometimes it comes off, and more often than not, it hasn't, though.
This is true. Well, push time for City Drop has a pretty good quick cap on point A, so they'll be feeling comfortable with how things have gone so far.
They do have the advantage here too. That Dragon Strike plus the Whole Hog from McCracken will clear out this enemy Orisa composition pretty quickly.
And he's pretty aware that there is a Hanzo behind them. That's Mercedes doing the dirty work. Be a nice defense matrix through there from Shoyo, as I now hear a Dragon Strike going across into the Melbourne Mavericks roster. Not going to do any real significant damage, and somehow Mercedes does get Yang. It's a battle on two fronts. It's crazy skirmishes going on everywhere. Melbourne Mavericks thriving in the chaos, and Sydney Drop Bears, they've got no idea what's happening.
Yeah, Sydney Drop Bears were in two motions there. One was dealing with Mercedes behind. Mercedes managed to get a cool little kill on Yang too, so it made it worth it. Well, not worth it, but made it worthwhile, I guess, or a little bit of value out of it. So that is a distraction enough for the Sydney Drop Bears to lose on the front line as well as they're trying to deal with him. So risky play from Mercedes, but it pays off at the end. Joker going very low.
But does actually catch Joker in the end. I'm not sure that he had Fortify available. If he did,
oh, nice shot.
Get your poggers in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. That was a nice shot. Oh, hello. Where was this? Where was this last week?
Week 2, I think he came in and he was missing everything. He couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, and now look at him, he's popping off.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, I was very, very questionable. I mean, I was questionable. No, I was questioning.
Oh, you're very questionable.
I am, yeah. But I was questioning what was the reasoning for this pickup for Yang. You know, it just didn't seem to be doing much, but I think now we're starting to get a bit of an idea more so of what he is capable of for this Sydney Drop Bears roster.
Yeah, he's definitely a lot more comfortable this week as Mercedes gets that pick onto Winter. It really evens things up now, but Yang is taking Mercedes out now. And another one on the side on Yang. He's popping off today.
That is unbelievable. Transcendence is forced out by Yeasty Boy as well, which is going to allow the res inside the safety of that healing. But Mercedes is doing probably just as well as Yang is at this point. The damage is of both sides absolutely incredible. Here comes the Dragon Strike from Winter. That is going to split Melbourne Mavericks apart, and the damage is looking very dangerous indeed as Crimson Wolf goes down. Good below indeed. Self-destruct from Shoyo. Oh, he's so good with them, isn't he? 2 kills off the back of that one, and Winter a headshot with the Sonic Arrow. Well, he knows exactly where Yeasty Boy's head is now, and it's impaled into a wall probably at this point. Sydney Drop Bears continue to push on forward. They've got 4 minutes on the clock.
This is a big time bank, and Joker swaps over to the Winston, but he's going to be greeted with the Kraken's Whole Hog. And I'll tell you what, Winstons disappear when they're using that ability.
Defense Matrix is going to be invested to try and get onto the point, which means Whole Hog is going to have essentially free reign here. There's also a Dragon Strike flying through the left side of the screen. Yang does miss this shot. Trying to connect onto Crimson Wolf. Can't see too much past the Dragon Strike, but Grima certainly can, as Crimson Wolf gets a punch in the face, and so will Morbid. Morbid's not going to survive too much longer, and the payload push is completed by Sydney Drop Bears. Great time.
Dreamer came in there with a big left hook on that Orisa, taking out 2 heroes with 1 melee hit. So that was cute, but yeah, Yang popping off on the Widow. That was the difference there. He really was just dominating the field and creating opportunities for Drop Bears to push forward. Mercedes was going 1-for-1 for him most of the time, but end of the day, the attacking team is the favoured one there.
Yeah, that's crazy. All right, let's calm down a little bit. 1 minute on the clock right now for Melbourne Mavericks.
Stranger things have happened. I've seen the Minute team win this, especially in my matchmaking games.
Yes, indeed. It's a win or lose situation now for Melbourne Mavericks. They have to win this on Kings Row. They can't afford a tie, otherwise the series is over. So they must, at the very least, give themselves something to defend. And even if it's one tick.
Yeah, and it looks like they are going to try and maybe put Mercedes on the Widowmaker to go up against Yang. That'll be a bit of a star showdown. Have you seen QVN on the Widowmaker not have a lot of success so far? So maybe it's time for Mercedes to pull it out. He pulled it out in week 2, I think it was, or week 1.
He's pulled it out a little bit this season. I don't think it's like necessarily set the world on fire per se, but...
And neither did Yang in week 2, and now we have him setting the world on fire now.
Exactly, so... Can't really count your chickens before they hatch when it comes to Widowmaker plays. Like, even I sometimes am able to do something with it. I've hit a few 3Ks in my time. Blick's here.
Alright, alright, we'll see you.
Yep.
Maybe you could get on the Melbourne Mavericks roster next season.
Yeah, I think Exerst was watching me stream one time. And I know I was popping off on Horizon and Colony, so he'll vouch for me.
I'm sure he will, as we see the Drop Bears setting up their defense around this Orisa composition. They're going to have to go very aggressive here in the Sydney Drop Bears. They want to avoid the situation they had last time, where Dreamer was kind of left out to dry without a shield for most of the fights. But again, he's kind of just holding up his shield for no reason at the moment, and that makes things very difficult for him. Hook combo locked, and now Shoyu can push in with that high energy. He's at 40% ult charge already. He's been doing a lot of damage, and they're heading for the hills of Melbourne Mavericks. Are they even going to be able to get back onto the point? They're being staggered out right into spawn, and the alley-oop goes in, and Crimson Wolf goes down. Mercedes down in the last seconds means Joker swapping over to the Wrecking Ball with the only thing to touch.
He'll get there, unless someone sleeps him or boops him. He does just get there to secure the overtime, but dies for it. Is anyone else going to be able to get to the point?
Not a chance.
So that is the series win then for Sydney Drop Bears, because worst case scenario now is a draw, and they're up 2-0.
I think this might be a very simple walkover for the side of Sydney Drop Bears. They've got a lot of time to take that first third, and it was a pretty simple walkover in the first attack. So have to see if Melbourne Mavericks can put up more resistance this time.
What can Mercedes do? Is it going to be the Ashe again?
Yeah,
it seemed to work, and then it totally didn't work. You know, the initial pick went the way of Melbourne Mavericks. You thought, oh, hang on, maybe something's happening here, but...
He did shoot that one thing that one time. That was very correct.
Yep.
Is this choosing the Widow at the moment? I think Widow's Widow's a higher potential hero than Ashe, but probably not as consistent.
See, the thing is, though, I think you need to take that risk right now.
Yeah, definitely.
To hold for 4 minutes and 11, you're going to need to have an unreal passage of play with Widowmaker, but Widow's like one of the characters that could make it happen.
Yeah,
I don't necessarily get that same sense from Ashe.
It's a lot more difficult to do it with Ashe because you don't have that guaranteed one-hit headshot, essentially. Yeah. Whereas Widow, of course, if you charge it up enough, it will. Widow's one of those heroes that it doesn't matter what the ultimates are on each team, you know, that hero can just win the fight if the player is good enough or the player gets lucky enough.
Playing with fire there, Dreamer.
Yeah, and Yang is going to pick up the Widowmaker himself. Saw him being very prolific on that hero in the first half of the game. Show you on a Tracer, a throwback. He used to play this hero a very, very long time ago, before Contenders was even a thing.
Yeah, he's a bit of a gamer, 33%, but it's Mercedes to draw first blood. Dreamer has popped a headshot. It's a strange composition here from Sydney Drop Bears, isn't it?
It's
5 DPS.
Yeah, it's a we need to win one fight composition. Let's go wild. Vancouver Titans often run this sometimes with Bumper on the Hanzo or Bumper on one of the DPS heroes, and it looks like they've been able to pick them apart. Zero the only support, but they don't really need him. They're all just picking the enemies off. Shoyo builds up a pulse bomb, puts it on Joker and kills him. Winter reflects an arrow into Itzy Boy's head and gives him a bit of an emote. And that will be the series win for Sydney Drop Bears, 3-0 so far, and the map win.
Indeed, 3-0 for Sydney Drop Bears, so a solid day at the office thus far, but work still to be done. They don't want that one map to come against them for Melbourne Mavericks. So far for Melbourne Mavericks, they are winless in this season. So I think, it's less about, okay, we need to get 4-0. Sure, it's nice to get 4-0. More about avoiding being that team that let Melbourne Mavericks
you don't want to be the team. You don't want to be the Boston Uprising. You don't want to be the team that
you don't want to be
loses.
Color Hex.
No, you
Shout out to Color Hex.
I wouldn't. No, Kelsey's alright. I wouldn't mind being Kelsey. He's got a nice life going. Yeah.
Yeah, you reckon?
Yeah. But no, you don't want to be the guy that loses to the team that hasn't won yet.
No, definitely not. Not a good feeling, that is for sure. But Melbourne Mavericks, they themselves, I think it's probably a worse feeling going 0-28 than being the team that drops the one map to them.
I mean, I think eventually, like, maybe the first few weeks, you're kind of, you know, you're down in the dumps because you're losing pretty consistently. But I think you get to a point where it's just kind of expected. So you're just like, you know, another day at the office, and it's going in and losing 0-4.
Yeah. What are these shots from Yang? I mean, I guess it does have...
He does have the walls up, but you still got to hit the shots.
Yeah. Good stuff indeed. I love having the Widow back in prevalence, at least in a way. You know, it's not Season 2 where we had Widow the whole time, we had Hanzo the whole time, but we are getting to see it a little bit. So we're seeing the Widow, the Tracer. Those are the kinds of heroes that I really like to watch because
they are very exciting heroes. Yeah,
get the big individual outplays and that sort of thing. Individual outplays, though, I don't know if it's necessarily what Sydney Droppers are sort of leaning on. Obviously, it's good to have individual outplays because that sort of elevates and boosts you up a little bit. But it's bad if that's the only way that you're winning series. And for Sydney Droppers here today, there are the individual outplays. There's the big sort of crazy performances from players like Niang and that kind of thing. But there's also just that sort of team cohesion that's there as well, that's really pushing them through when push comes to shove. Yeah,
they've got a solid foundation of fundamentals that are just excelling at the moment over the Melbourne Mavericks. Melbourne Mavericks kind of look all over the place. They've got a few strategies that they've tried to go. They've tried to go with, you know, putting Mercedes on the carry hero. They've tried to go into the goats a little bit more. Maybe put Joker on the Reinhardt, on the Orisa, on the Winston. He's played a bit of everything, but so far none of it's really worked out.
No, definitely not. And for Melbourne Mavericks, they need something to work out sooner rather than later. Dorado is going to be our next map. Again, it's not a map. It's not a map that Melbourne Mavericks have won so far. Again, they haven't won any maps. Sydney Droppers have one on Dorado already, so take from that what you will.
I'll take
the Widow map.
It's a Widow map.
Does it give you any hope then for Melbourne Mavericks, or
not a chance?
Or is it more leaning towards Sydney Droppers as a result of that, given Yang's performance today?
Probably given Yang's performance today, it'll lean more towards him. He seems to be sharper, and I mean, Melbourne Mavericks have shown 2 Widow players. They've shown QVN on it, which didn't look too great at all, and then they showed Mercedes on it, and he's shown a little bit more, but still not enough to make me think that he's going to be able to take on Yang. And if it does come down to a Widowmaker duel, then yeah, I favour the Sydney Droppers. But again, it could be that combination of the hold hook combo that the Melbourne Mavericks rely on, and they showed to be pretty decent on that, on King Zero attack. I mean, at least they finished the map, and that's something that I didn't expect going into the map. So you never know, I mean, stranger things have happened, and we haven't seen a 4-0 this week, so maybe this will be the first. Maybe we'll continue the curse of no 4-0s.
Yeah, I suppose if you were going to get a 4-0, it would come from this matchup. I might have said Atletico Warriors could have been a 4-0 as well, and
yeah,
by rights, maybe it should have been.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of expected at half-time. It was looking like it was going to be, but eventually the Atletico guys got their stuff together and they put up a really good show, actually.
That pretty much could have gone to an overtime as well. Like, it could have gone to a map 5.
It was, very lucky. Well, not probably not lucky, but very close that it didn't go to that map 5. But if it did go to the map 5, the domination that was shown from the Warriors on control, I would have expected them to take it. But we're not in that series, we're in this series, and I don't think we're going to a map 5 here.
No. I don't think there's any possibility to smash, given that it is 3-0.
That's West Australian education coming in through there. It's not hot,
indeed.
Not the finest.
Luckily, you're here in Sydney now.
Yep.
We'll treat you good.
I hope so. Hasn't so far. It's been bloody cold.
Has been a bit cold, but that's all right. Oh,
Mercedes 1-0.
Yeah. Dreamer, you need to be careful, mate. That shield. Mercedes is not going to miss a shot like that.
Not messing around, is he? He's come to play. Show you now onto the Hanzo.
57% ult charged.
Someone heal Dreamer, please. Okay, thank you. So he's looking around for his next target. He's looking around for that Pharah, actually, but Winter takes the long way around and tries to get an angle on top of his head.
Sooner or later, Sydney Drop Bears are going to force Melbourne Mavericks off this high ground, though, and that's where the job gets a little bit easier.
Yeah, now Winter's in a better position. Now he can play around these roofs and reduce the angles and line of sight that Mercedes can get onto him. Looks like someone's around the backside. Could be Yang. The Dreamer has gone down to a hold hook combo. It looked like he got stunned up there by the hook and goes down very quickly. So this will reset the attack for the Sydney Drop Bears.
Yang is around the back.
Yeah, he's looking. He needs to hit a shot though. That's the problem. I mean, it's all good being in this position, but you got to take advantage of it.
Yeah, not wrong.
He hasn't been doing that yet. He does tag Boy, but Boy will retreat into the house and get away with it.
To be aware of where Mercedes is as well, but Mercedes certainly needs to be aware of where Niang is. They're kind of hanging around different angles. There we go, finally! One spots the other, and it's one apiece now. Niang getting some revenge there as he now frees himself up to focus on the other bigger targets than Widowmaker itself. Wolf will cop a bio nade. That is not a fun place to be at all. It's off half the healing from the whole hog, and Winter having a good time. Smashing away with the rocket launcher.
As soon as that Widowmaker's out, Yang taking care of the Widowmaker means Winter is pretty much free to roam around and do whatever he pleases. As Mercedes goes for the hook shot, does tag him, but doesn't get the headshot. Not enough damage to take him out, so Winter will live another day. Joker now, swapping off the Orisa onto the Winston.
I guess that makes some degree of sense, given the verticality of this point.
Crimson Wolf on the Diva too, so they've completely swapped it up. They're moving on to a more traditional dive composition. This is a composition we saw a lot in the Overwatch League Season 1.
Yeah, Joker is going to have a bit of a rude awakening there, jumping right on top of the supercharger. And Dreamer throwing a lot of damage in his direction. Winter has found Boy, but it's a Kraken. Never mind, it's going to be Winter actually that does get the kill. Kraken got QBN with a bio nade, interestingly enough.
Yang got the headshot there onto Mercedes there, so that's 2-1 now to Yang.
Good counting.
Yeah, well,
At least they taught you that.
Yeah, well, I haven't got to 3 yet, so we're fine.
Yeah.
Yang now waiting in this position. He could be found out by the opposing Tracer, and that will cause him some issues, but...
Seems aware.
Seems like he wants the fight.
Perhaps QVN made some footsteps there. Oh, well, you know, when you hit shots like that, I suppose, why not? It's a transcendence that's going to come out from Melbourne Mavericks, but it seems as though they're in two minds. A couple of them pushing forward, a couple backing away and trying to hide. Winter did use the rocket barrage, which was definitely blocked by Crimson Wolf. Joker's in the middle of an entire enemy team, and that is not where you want to be, even as a Winston.
Joker did well there to kill the supports, but as this fight goes on, the individual brilliance from Winter and Yang getting their counterpart picks just means that this fight goes down, and Yang again kills Mercedes with a headshot. So this matchup is looking incredibly one-sided at the moment.
Payload continues on forward. 4 minutes 11. It's a lot of time going into Phase C. Mercedes does get Shoyo, but look, going into Phase C with 4 minutes 11, it doesn't necessarily fill you with a whole lot of confidence, because this is a part of the map where things do tend to stall quite a lot.
Yeah, but there's no big ultimates that are super scary on the side of Melbourne Mavericks to slow down this push, really. They are relying on it. It's a pick composition they're relying on. Unless this pulse bomb really cleans something up, it's not going to happen, because Shoyo is a bit too experienced for that one.
He's got a big brain and a big umbrella as well. And gets the better of Mercedes. 3 for 1 now. I'll give you...
It's 4 for 1 now, in fact,
1.
actually.
There you go. Even better for Sydney Drop Bears, and that may be part of the reason why you're seeing them have such ease pushing through Dorado here. Still 3 minutes 28. It really doesn't feel as though the payload has stopped at all since it got rolling. Self-destruct is there for Shoyo, which is going to be really nice to knock players off of the payload. And Yang is just hitting everything.
Don't think you can play the Pharah here, buddy. It's just not going to work out. And Yang is hitting everything. No contest as well. This is such a strong push from the Sydney Drop Bears. It doesn't look like Melbourne Mavericks have been able to play the game at all. They just the card didn't seem like it ever stopped in that third phase.
Absolutely. That might be the fastest Dorado time we've seen.
It definitely is the fastest we've seen this season.
To go along with probably the fastest Kings Row time we've even seen as well.
Yeah, no, I think that's correct.
4 minutes 11 on Kings Row was left, and 3 minutes and 3 left here on Dorado from Sydney Drop Bears.
And it was a good showing again from Yang. I'm glad he's shown up this week. You called him out earlier and said that he needed to show up, and he's answered in kind.
Well, yeah, it's a massive, massive turnaround from what we've seen so far. So that is a great sign for Sydney Drop Bears. But there's the kind of performance that you can't expect every single week either. You know, you can't rely on that.
This has got to be his benchmark now. He's got to be putting up these type of performances. If this Sydney Drop Bears team is going to go far into playoffs, he needs to be putting up these performances every week and against better teams too.
Yeah.
He's showing that he can do it though, so that's a positive sign.
Ready for battle.
So Melbourne Mavericks will move over onto their attack with a fairly foreboding scoreline to attempt. 3 minutes and 3 for Sydney Drop Bears after capping all 3 points. A lot in the time bank. And we're going to see Niang again over onto Widowmaker. No surprises there. He's been having a pretty good day. Winter, Farah, seems like a pretty good choice to me as well.
Yeah, he's been enjoying playing that Pharaoh. I know he's one of those DPS players as well as, like, similar to Roro, where he really does enjoy playing those DPS heroes. And he's probably better at it than he is at Briggs, so it's good to see him on it. It's good to see the DPS players freed up a little bit. Now, can Mercedes peg this scoreline back? It's at 4-1 at the moment. It's a long way to come back from, though.
Definitely is. Nyang showing his head for the first time as well. The Widow has spotted the other at this point. But
Looks like he's going for the big flank.
Yang seems perhaps a little aware of it. Certainly Winter is, and he's going to cop a bit of damage for his trouble there, but healed up quite nicely by Uro.
Having a Pharaoh certainly does help. It just gives another thing for Mercedes to worry about, and there's a lot to worry about when Winter lands on your head with that rocket launcher.
Yes, indeed. That's going to be the life of QVN. However, that's a really nice shot from QVN under extreme pressure. At least gets a 1-for-1. Yang also getting low, but healed up again. Fluoro doing a great job on the Mercy. Shoyo will fall, however. There's just too many targets, taking too much damage for these two City Drop Bear supports to really keep them all alive.
Yang greets Mercedes with a body shot as he tries to come out of spawn, so he was ready. But this card is still pushing for the side of the Melbourne Mavericks. And there doesn't look like to be too much competition. Yeah, the Fortify is going to run out on the side of Melbourne Mavericks. But
the Charger comes up just as the Fortify runs out, and so does Rocket Mirage, which is good enough for one. Winter got a kill onto Issy Boy just before that as well, so both the supports died to his hand.
But now they're in this position that's incredibly hard to push into. I mean, look at the distance that this Melbourne Mavericks team has to cover to get to the cart, and all those sight lines means that they're going to get spammed out so much. They're going to be eating rockets, they're going to be having to get past Dreamer's gun, they're going to have to get past Nyang's sight lines as well, and once they get there, they're going to be greeted by an EMP.
But not a whole lot else. Maybe the Nano Boost, but who does the Nano Boost even go on to here when Winter doesn't have Rocket Barrage?
I think he can just stick it on Winter for him to drop low and use that effective HP bonus that he gets from the damage reduction.
Maybe put it on Nyang at this point.
Not a bad shout.
Got the infra side up, so he can see through the wall, so can Winter. Help him in harassing the snipers. QVN gets Shoyo, but Winter gets QVN. That's a great sleep dart onto Winter, but Fluoro will camp it by the looks of things. Mercedes, well, you can't heal through the headshot damage there. It looks like it might be Sydney Drop Bears finally falling on point A. Good solid defense. Pretty happy with that, I think, as Sydney Drop Bears.
Yeah, they do use the EMP. They start the fight off with the EMP, but QVN manages to take out Shoyo as he returns out of the EMP cast animation. So that's, and Mercedes is starting to peg this Widow back. He's starting to feel a little bit more and get some shots in, but will it be enough?
Yeah, what's the scoreline at?
I believe he's got 3 kills,
4-3.
Yeah, I think it's 4-3.
We might both be wrong and just convincing each other.
That's okay. I'm sure production will have an update for us if we need one.
We definitely need one.
Yeah.
But I'm going to guarantee you that they don't have an update for us. Those guys back there, they don't know anything, especially Cindy.
You're not wrong there. Mercedes actually got another kill onto Nyang there, so maybe we'll call it 4-4 at the moment, so it's evened up.
Alright, sounds good to me. But as far as the entire match is concerned, I think the blow for blow is definitely favouring Sydney Drop Bears at this point. 2 minutes is a decent amount of time for Melbourne Mavericks, but
this is the easiest part of the map to push though for the Melbourne Mavericks. As Nyang, it goes to 5-4. We can't stop talking about these two. They just keep trading back and forth.
I suppose what you come to expect from Widowmaker matchups here on Dorado. QVN gets low, Dreamer with the dive straight in. Kraken once again is going to eat the entire damage from a Dragon Strike, and that means there's a massive lack of healing here for Sydney Drop Bears, especially for those targets that are really far away.
A lot of ults on the side of the Melbourne Mavericks were used though. I think they used 4 ults. So, I mean, Sydney Drop Bears lose the fight, but at least they die on the cart and they don't, spend ultimate. So I think they only spent the nano boost there, but Dreamer got knocked back by the whole hog, so couldn't do it. Oh, it's a nice shot from Mercedes.
Yep. Recontest should be possible here for Sydney Drop Bears, especially with that pick. Yeah, but an equally decent one from Mercedes as Winter goes down. I suppose you'd probably still prefer to have the Mercy here rather than a Tracer because this is Reservoir, of course. And that is exactly what is going to occur. Fluoro gets Winter back up off the floor as an exchange of frags comes across right on top of the point is Dreamer. Diving now onto Mercedes, and there's nothing Mercedes can do about it. Needed some help from a healer or anyone, but there was no one there. Sydney Drop Bears look to wipe Melbourne Mavericks right at the gates of point B.
Crimson Wolf putting up a nice fight here. Almost has the whole hog. He does have to take a breather, but it's not going to be enough. Show he's going to out-damage, and that will be another reset. Melbourne Mavericks so close, 0.02 meters. But still not capturing the point means nothing. Orbit getting picked off there was disastrous. You never want your Mercy picked off, especially in these compositions that you're relying on the Mercy single target healing to heal your snipers.
Your support has arrived.
As the Widowmakers have found each other here.
I wonder how much time both of these two have spent in the Widow DM server.
Oh, you'd hope a lot. That is a lot of fun. Show you. Going to open the fight on to QVN. Ults are coming up on the side of Melbourne Mavericks as they try and use the bongo, and the whole hog comes out too. Crimson Wolf now is answered back.
Damage.
It's doing so much damage. Is it enough to get the capture point though?
Well, with Dreamer going down, it's going to be difficult to imagine anyone's going to have an easy time contesting it. 1.5 meters, 1.8 of a meter. Shoyo is going to get the self-destruct to try and buy some space. It's enough with the Dragon Strike coming across. Crimson Wolf had nowhere to go. Sydney Drop Bears, they find a victory from the jaws of what looked like defeat. 30 seconds now for Melbourne Mavericks, and they have to do exactly the same thing. It is the jaws of defeat for Melbourne Mavericks. Another 0-4 is on the cards.
Yeah, and it doesn't... There's not much to work with on the side of the Melbourne Mavericks either. The only ult they had was the Dragon Strike that QVN swapped over. And now with the Infra side, this is going to make things a lot easier for Nyang as he pushes all the way up. He really wants this Widow headshot. He misses the shot though, and he's given away position, but it doesn't matter. He's going to take out Nyang anyway. On the other side of the map, Shoyo dropping low, but he's managed to group back up on cart, and Fluro will be able to top him up.
Oh no, they don't even get on the cart. I was prepared, I was ready for the final fight, for the bit of an explosion, but...
I was ready for the explosion of action too, but it just never came about. Unfortunately, they couldn't get on the cart, and that means the series ends 4-0 for the side of the Sydney Drop Bears.
Yeah, once again, another 0-4 loss for Mindfreak, which marks 0-16 this season. So a roster change every week, it hasn't really helped, and maybe we'll see into week 5 whether or not this same 6 is going to persist. And if so, what kind of benefits does that entail? For Sydney Drop Bears, it's nice to see them right back up on that horse though. Yep. They'll secure themselves at 2-2, which is just a little bit safer. You start to feel like, okay, look, we're doing a little better for ourselves after having lost to Order, having lost to Mindfreak. They do get the wins over the quote-unquote easier opposition in Legacy and Melbourne Mavericks, so you can't get too excited just yet for Sydney Drop Bears, but that definitely looked a lot better. Yeah,
and you still got to win those games too. If you're seeing other teams not being able to close out those series versus lower teams, and that's where they really struggle towards the end of the season, where you really need those map wins, you really need those series wins. So good on Sydney Drop Bears for closing stuff out and getting back on the right track.
I don't think that there was too much to really write home about for Melbourne Mavericks, but I suppose it's another sort of a situation where we need to talk about having those roster changes. It's going to take 2 or 3 weeks maybe for them to get into a position where they're really going to be a solid contender, but thinking about who they have left to face, obviously there's Legacy, which have shown that they're no real pushovers so far this season, even though we kind of consider them a quote-unquote weaker team, given that they haven't found themselves a win yet. You kind of get the sense that a win for Legacy is coming sooner or later. So
I think they deserve it for sure.
Yeah, Melbourne Mavericks need to be pretty careful against them. They haven't faced Order yet, and even despite the shambles that Order is in, I'd probably be backing them to beat this roster here. And Mindfreak obviously is doing really well for themselves at the moment. So I think for Mindfreak, that's almost a walk in the park in a way, unless Melbourne Mavericks turn their season around. We sort of have been saying that though for the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Running out of room to turn it around
Exactly.
very, very rapidly.
Yeah, it's time for Melbourne Mavericks. It's crunch time, really. With 3 weeks left in the season, they need at least 2 wins to make it into playoffs.
Yep.
Haven't got any yet. Same story for the Legacy guys, to be fair.
Yep, there it is. They're both on 0.
But it's been looking a lot better for Legacy. They've got a lot of maps on the board. Melbourne Mavericks still missing out in that department.
It's correct. They're running out of time. All these teams are running out of time. They're leaving their runs a little too late, but I have faith that Legacy can pull out some wins.
Yeah, certainly, and I think it's going to be no surprise to anyone who this Macca's player of the game is going to be. Let's see what it is. It's Sydney Drop Bears and Melbourne Mavericks, and the Macca's player of the game. Of course, it has to go to Nyang on the Widowmaker.
Yeah, definitely on King's Roar. He was very dominant on the attack Widowmaker. That was really the thing that let them get that huge time bake, and there was so many passages of play where he got 2 or 3 kills. This was the 3k, and I think here's a 2k here. He grapples up and takes out Mercedes. So, you know, he played really, really well on this Widowmaker on the back half of this series. And
Yeah.
if we can see this going through, I mean, Widow's one of those heroes that you need to work pretty hard to shut down. So he could give other teams a lot of trouble with this Widowmaker.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to see how the matchups go between, the likes of Haas and Yang when they're kind of going at each other when they're both on form. Those two, to me, kind of seem at the moment to be the strongest Widowmakers in Overwatch Contenders Australia. I don't think I'm forgetting anyone.
Defield's played well on the Widow.
Yeah,
I
actually,
mean,
that's true.
Sign's always decent on the Widow, but he hasn't played the Widow in a very long time, so we'll see what happens.
This season, I haven't seen as much from Sign, I don't think,
No,
on the
not
Widow.
yet.
So I don't know if he's necessarily part of that discussion. Definitely Defield gets an honourable mention, maybe.
Yeah.
Although we have seen a bit more from Defield than from Niang, so maybe Niang gets the honourable mention. Defield and Huss are kind of up there at the moment.
Yeah, I think they're the top of the throne.
Yeah, regardless, for Melbourne Mavericks, it's something that needs to change, whatever the case. Mercedes was, I thought, pretty decent, finding a few picks here and there. The Hanzo was pretty impressive, but it just never really felt like there was quite enough there for Melbourne Mavericks. In terms of team coordination, Joker earlier on in the series as well had some pretty good moments. So I look at that roster and I think, okay, well, there may be a chance for this team to, if they have a bit of time to kind of work on things, to actually be relevant, but they haven't hit that point yet in Contenders.
Yeah, Joker had a few little nice passages of play, actually. They're quite hard to pick up, but he had that shield that he shielded an EMP, which is quite difficult to do on Orisa. He had a few double kills in there, so he didn't play too badly. He probably could be proud of himself. He played a bit of mystery heroes, so he was on all sorts of heroes. Wrecking Ball, Winston, Reinhardt, Orisa, you name it, he played it.
Yeah, so we're just working on getting the standings sorted out, so if you're sticking around for that, hang on a minute. It's coming.
It's coming.
We'll get there. Let's just talk a little bit about how this week as a whole has gone. We'll just wrap things up, I guess, since we've got some time. I think for the majority of the matches, I want to say the winner was the expected winner. That's Ground Zero over Order, Mindfreak over Legacy, Warriors over Athletico, and Sydney Drop Bears over Melbourne Mavericks. Now, Ground Zero Order, that's a bit more of a toss-up, but I honestly kind of said, like, I'm not so sure about Order in this match. Everything else to me was the expected winner. It's the fact that all these maps have kind of gone the way of the underdog that sort of surprised me. Obviously, with the exception of Sydney Drop Bears Melbourne Mavericks, every single series had at least one, maybe even 2 maps.
Yeah, I mean, Order losing the first match was kind of like the outside chance one. I mean, but you couldn't write Ground Zero off completely, right? They're a very talented roster. They have some nice players, and their players and their heroes are starting to synergize really well. Like Dalsu with that Ana, Mini playing more Winston, getting more used to it. I think Juboy played a lot of Farah too, which helps. So I don't know, that series, we had 3 incredibly close series this week, which you love to see. The top of the table getting close too.
Yeah, indeed, 13, 12, 10, but there is a bit of a discrepancy in the wins and losses. 4 wins on the board for Warriors, 3 for Mindfreak and Ground Zero, who are occupying 2nd and 3rd. I would say fairly comfortably now that we have a couple of teams at 2-2, or a few teams at 2-2.